Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about a subject that is very near and dear to my heart, and that's going to be this stuff. So let's talk about combat webbing. But before we get into it, we need to thank a word from our... Oh, we don't do that here. Anyway, let's talk about webbing. So first off, what exactly is webbing? Well, simply put, webbing is a type of load-bearing equipment, which means that it is equipment that allows us to carry other items that we might need. So like a chest rig or a backpack, webbing allows us to carry the gear that we have to have on our person. What makes webbing different is that it utilizes our hips to carry all the weight. Backpacks will often do this by the use of hip pads. Chest rigs and plate carriers, they put the weight on your shoulders, but naturally as humans, we need that weight on our hips, and webbing does that beautifully. So let's talk about some more philosophies of how to use webbing, what I recommend, what I don't recommend, and what I personally keep in mind. So first off, let's talk about the philosophy of combat webbing. So combat webbing is going to be a little bit different than what we've been seeing the last 20-30 years with the use of plate carriers and assault packs. Combat webbing essentially is the oldest type of fighting equipment, going back to the 1700s. And that's because it makes sense. Carrying the load on our hips and that weight distributed onto our entire body is the easiest way to carry large bits of equipment, and it also leaves our chest and back open, allowing us to get low to the ground or carry an additional pack when needed. Webbing really started with wide military use, as I said, in the 1700s-1800s by the British, Prussian and French armies. And then it really developed come World War I, the German systems, the French systems, but iconically the British canvas system, the 1908 webbing. After that, come World War II, the British improved this even further, really paving the way with webbing and load-bearing equipment technology, with the 1937 pattern webbing seen in World War II. After that, we have the 58 pattern webbing. And then we come to the Cold War, which is where we see the PLCE webbing. And this is the webbing that all modern load-bearing equipment is based. PLCE stands for Personal Load-Bearing Equipment. And we have an example here. So let's talk about British PLCE and the philosophy behind it. So British PLCE, Personal Load Carrying Equipment. So this to me is the perfected webbing. All webbing from this point onward, even made today, is based on this system, and that's because the British got it right. So what's the philosophy behind this? What is it for? What is it not for? Well, the Americans had their Alice system, which I think is a terrible piece of webbing equipment. Because America isn't part of Europe, obviously, it never got really introduced to PLCE, but I think that the Americans are starting to change their opinion on this. But the problem is that the American community is making Alice-based webbing systems when they should be accepting and introducing PLCE-based webbing systems. And that's because of a few features that we're going to get into here, but mainly the large backpack of the Alice system, it doesn't make a lot of sense, personally. And when you use PLCE-based webbing, you very quickly learn that Alice is not the way, which is ironic because a lot of guys these days think that these new-made, like I think Velocity Systems or Spiritus makes their load-bearing equipment. It's basically modernized Alice. I've used it, I've seen it. It's nothing compared to even old PLCE systems from the 80s. So I hope that America can really accept the use of PLCE systems, throw away the Alice stuff, because there are some fantastic companies, one in particular that we'll talk about, that have really perfected the PLCE system. So with that, what is it for? So PLCE is basically 24 hours of fighting and sustainment. The idea behind this is that you're going into the field and the soldier has to be able to support themselves. This comes from the concept during the Cold War that a soldier will be out there as a team or a squad, maybe away from supply, and they have to be able to use this. So this is referred to as our fighting order or our sustainment also. Sorry, pack sustainment, which is what you'd refill this off, but we'll get into that. But essentially, this is 24 hours of fighting and sustainment in one package. So the way this works is on the wings here, on the sides, we have 4 magazine pouches. Now, obviously, these can be reconfigured however you'd like. But we have magazine pouches. Now, these can carry 3 magazines each. So if you fully load this, that can be a total of 12 magazines. Which again, think of the philosophy when this was made. This is Cold War, Russia's coming across the border. You need a lot of bloody ammunition. And just like in our How to Survive a Firefight video, we go over how much ammo you actually need. So getting into the PLCE webbing system, as I said, around the front, we can keep 12 magazines. Sometimes I'll put a pistol in one of these, or a medical kit, or maybe a radio. But there are also spaces in between the pouches, and newer ones will actually have molly there to attach other things you might need, smoke grenades, med kits, whatever it might be. So you've got your fighting order up front. In the back is where our sustainment is. In the middle is where you'll keep 24 hours of emergency rations, food, or a mess tin. Again, different configurations for different militaries. But for the British, this is where your sustainment would be in terms of food. In either pouch, you'd have either 2 water bottles per, a medical kit, or a survival kit. And then on top with extra straps is a very common place to put extra camouflage and maybe your schmuck. Here we have a rolled up USGI poncho. The webbing itself is built off of one belt system that you can see here, the pouches clipping in onto it, and then we have a yoke suspension system. You can also get padding. Some soldiers would use a cut roll mat as padding also. There's lots that you can do with it. But right there, you've got your basic PLCE and, of course, your trusty bayonet. So what's fantastic about the PLCE system is that it allows you to carry a lot. And because this is on your hips, not your back, not the front of your body, you could actually run a chest rig with this. You could run a pack, an assault pack, a main pack. You can do so much. So PLCE paved the way for webbing to come during the next couple of years, and this was really the dominant webbing for about 30 or 40 years. So PLCE has my heart, to be quite honest. There is nothing like it. So if you go out and just buy some used PLCE webbing, if you're in Europe, you can find these everywhere. If you're in the United States, you can find them on eBay. But if you just go out and buy a set of this, you will have it to pass down to your kids. It is tough as nails. I have almost no complaints about it because they just designed it right. Alice webbing, you can't carry enough. The straps are too thin. It flops around. This oftentimes will use paracord on the bottom of the yoke and it can be tightened up. There's lots of modifications. There's tons of videos out there. You can do a lot of stuff. So PLCE, still used today by the British forces, absolutely has my heart. But now that we understand the philosophy, now that we understand what it's for, what was some ways that we could improve on the webbing? Well, during the global war on terror, where British soldiers were still using webbing, some companies came along and they started to improve the classic PLCE. First one was, and the biggest known, is going to be JJ's. So what JJ's did was they made a modification of PLCE. They used modern straps, modern camouflages. They integrated essentially all the mods that British soldiers were doing. Things like better webbing straps, thicker hip pads, different buckle types, extra webbing attachment points in between pouches to fit, again, knives, smoke grenades, medical kits, whatever you might need. And JJ's has done really well doing that. They make a really good product, but because it was a modification of PLCE, I think there was still one more step that it could take. So that's where we get into what I think is the best webbing on the market, and if that's the case, it would be the best webbing in the world. Right, so now let's talk about this stuff. So this is the Crossfire DZ rig. So full transparency, both of these sets were sent to me by Crossfire coming up to almost a year ago now. Time does move quickly. So the Crossfire DZ rig, I think, is the best webbing that we've got on the market so far. So because what they did was, like other companies were doing, they looked at the PLC system, but they didn't just modify it. What they did was they really made it from the ground up. They took the PLCE system and they said, okay, how can we improve this? One major thing to do with that was Crossfire had been making a Crossfire, for those, a quick rundown, is an Australian company. They make equipment for the Australian military, and they have been doing for years. So they knew what they were doing, they knew what soldiers wanted, they knew the materials, all that stuff was already figured out. They already had good manufacturing, and all the products had been proven for years. So what Crossfire did was they took the PLC webbing, and one of the designers on this is actually a physical therapist. So he took not just, okay, we need padding there, but they took it a step deeper. They said, okay, what type of padding? How does the composition change when you sweat? What's the buoyancy like when it's wet? Do you want buoyancy here? What are the downfalls of PLCE? And if we were to design this from the ground up with 21st century technology, how would we do it? So let's go through the honestly fantastic modernized PLC system, the Crossfire DZ rig, why I love it and why it is, I think, the first and best bit of equipment that a soldier can get, a prepared citizen, or anyone that trains needs. So starting off, well, where to start is going to be the hardest thing. So we'll start off with one of the biggest features on it, which is going to be this massive hip pad. So this big hip pad here we have one in OD green, or they call it their I think Ranger green, I want to say. Not quite Ranger green, it's kind of like an off color, but it looks really, really nice. So the contour of this pad in this foam, as I just said, was chosen after many, many years of figuring out what they needed, because some foam was too thick, some was too thin, and they need a foam that is kind of stiffer when you first get it, but as you use it and you break it in, it's gonna get the type of consistency and feel that you want it to over time. And along with, being able to take the heat, the cold, whatever it might be. So the pad itself is actually cut and contoured so you have full mobility. A big problem with this PLCE webbing is the pouches, as you would lift your leg up, would actually hinder your leg from moving. I can tell you right now, with these cuts here, running in this webbing is absolutely effortless. It just molds to your body. It feels like it's a part of you. So the contour cuts being designed by individuals that work in physical therapy, and oftentimes dealt with injuries that soldiers would face post-service. They thought, okay, what injuries are we seeing and how can we help mitigate that with the design of our webbing? And the hip pad is an absolutely crucial part because it's where that weight connects with your skeletal structure and your body. And I'm going to get into another way that Crossfire has innovated on this front also. But one of the bigger features that is going to stand out is going to be that hip pad. Again, fantastically designed. The next one is going to be the buckle and strap system. So the straps and the buckles that this webbing comes with, you can get the Cobra buckle. It's going to come with a standard buckle. Just go ahead and buy the Cobra buckle. And again, really easy, nice and adjustable. Everything has Velcro ties so you can roll it up and keep it nice and neat. Moving across to the pouches now. So the pouches on the DZ rig are really specially designed. So what we have here is you have on the front, you have two magazine pouches holding 3 mags each. Behind there is MOLLE, so you can fit whatever type of pouches that you might want to do. Maybe you're a machine gunner, maybe you want to swap those out, but you can fit anything that you want. So what are special features on the pouches? Well, first off is going to be the tuck tab design. So these pouches work by using a tuck tab. So this little tab here folds in and out and it goes underneath here. What this means is you can effortlessly just tuck it under there and it's going to be secure. And believe me, it's secure. I've used this for a pretty long time now, tons of situations, really put it through its paces, and it's done phenomenally well. As I said, you've got 3 magazines in there and it does a great job. But another feature is underneath the tuck tab, you actually have Velcro. So you can just take this Velcro off, just fold it over like so, and now you can just put on the Velcro like so. So now you can take that off. But again, if you don't want to be noisy, you just cover up the Velcro and use that tuck tab. To secure the tuck tab for airborne operations, they have this bungee, which I really enjoy bungeeing those also. It's that extra sense of security. It's lightweight. It's not like the plastic buckles on the PLCE or the JJs that are really noisy. On the side, they've added the molly. Again, great for chem lights, attaching smoke grenade pouches, medical pouches, anything you might need. And Crossfire has gone further with their pouch design, and they've integrated bungees. This allows you to put maybe 1 or 2 small items in here. We can actually tighten this bungee up, and it's going to allow that pouch to tighten up and grab whatever item is on the inside, minimizing noise and movement. And again, holding everything tight to that crucial pad, hip pad that we have there. What's nice about the molly and this bungee also is that it allows you to attach your camouflage, which is again a staple when doing field work. Now, Crossfire, on the bottom of all their pouches, one might think that there's no drainage. There's no drainage holes. And that was something that actually took me by surprise. But that can be further from the truth, because Crossfire has done their research. Their drainage is actually stitched. It is a tiny hole stitched underneath here. And what that means is when you're wearing the webbing and it's flush with your body, when you have traditional holes in the bottom of webbing, when that fills up, what's going to happen is that water is going to drain out and it's going to make a shit ton of noise. It's going to basically sound like however many pouches, 7 pouches. So 7 kids are basically pissing around your feet. That's no good. So Crossfire's design being closer towards the hip pad means that the water will actually dribble down your leg, down your back, onto your boots, and it makes for a silent exit from an aquatic or water environment, or even just heavy rain. Moving along through other pouches on the Crossfire DZ rig are going to be these pouches here. So these are our sustainment pouches, again going off that 3-line model of the PLCE. What I like to do is I will go over this, but again, sustainment, water, and survival kits. Same features. We have the tuck tab on these. We have the inner Velcro. We have the bungee suspension system and molly on the side. Again, great for camouflage, attaching other items as well. We have the drainage on the bottom, and on the top even, we have loops of molly. So what this molly allows right here is it's great for camouflage. I absolutely love it for that, but you can also attach other pouches on here if need be. Moving across then to the yoke of the DZ rig. So the yoke of the DZ rig is really well designed, and it's designed to integrate seamlessly into the webbing. Oftentimes yokes are second thought, but Crossfire, seeing the injuries of service members, knew that the hip pad and the yoke were one entire system, and they had to work together to do it right. And did they get it right? So again, let's start from the bottom here. It's attached using D-rings, which is a special polymer that Crossfire uses. It will not break in the hot, it will not break in the frigid cold. It's really well done. Just like the frames of their packs, it's able to take a beating. The US Marine Corps recently had an issue that their pack frames were breaking in the cold. So now that winter's here, going out with the confidence that these won't break is a huge deal for me. For adjustability, again, you've got that Velcro of each of the straps. Keep it nice and tidy. It looks really nice. On the back of the webbing, we have a mesh, and this is the Crossfire LTAS system, so we can actually use some of their pouches on the back of here individually if we want. I really like this. It's quicker than molly, it's lighter than molly, and I think a fantastic addition for quickly swapping out equipment. I'll do a video on LTAS later, but today we'll focus on the webbing. On the back, of course, we have that pull tab for grabbing your buddy, or honestly just picking it up off the kitchen floor after a long day. You can see here that I've used the straps to loop a radio into my webbing. Again, really, really nice feature. Across the front of the yoke, we also have this guy. So this is our sternum strap. The sternum strap can be moved using the molly loops up and down the webbing. You can position it where you'd like. Really nice feature there. The hip pads, the pads itself are very well designed. Fantastic yoke system. And again, the padding in here is specifically designed that when you sweat, when it gets wet, it's not going to hinder the webbing. Guys, you're not going to get chafing with this webbing. Personally, you're not, I can't, no guarantees just for me. And what I've seen, there's no hot spots. There's nothing like that. It does a really good job. And honestly, I don't know if it's got antibacterial properties, but the shit doesn't stink. Like this stuff, when you get sweating and crap, it gets this really nasty smell. This stuff, I haven't noticed that at all. Some Ranger beads do not come with the webbing, but always a nice feature to have. So the last note on the yoke is you're going to see these little guys at 45-degree angle female clips. So what these are is an absolutely genius, and I think the cherry on top for the Crossfire webbing. This webbing is designed to work with their entire system. So be it the CF1 Assault Pack, the CF2, I like to call it like a 3-season sustainment pack, or their CF3, which I believe they might be replacing. But what you can do is, especially with the CF2, you can actually take off the pads of your pack. It comes with a female adapter that goes from your backpack to your webbing, and now the hip pads of your webbing become the pads of your main pack. I cannot stress how big of a deal that is. The biggest thing about PLCE was because this was around your hips, you couldn't wear a large pack because those hip pads would be up just underneath your nipples. You couldn't access your magazine pouches. There was a lot of problems. The British military actually issued 2 packs. You had a long back without webbing and a shorter back, literally designed to work with webbing, because you need a shorter pack when you use this type of webbing. But Crossfire came in like an absolute legend, honestly, and they designed a pack that clips into your webbing harness, and now you can carry a full 40 to 55 liter backpack with your combat load. With 2 clips, you can drop that main pack, you have your 24-hour fighting load, and you're good to go. I've ran this at Milsom at West events. I've ran that setup out training, and it just integrates phenomenally well, because when stuff's designed as a system, that's when it's going to work the best. And no one has designed a system to work with belt kit, which is, I think, one of the massive points that no one else is doing on the market right now. So huge amount of respect to Crossfire for coming up with that, because that was the biggest downfall with the PLCE webbing, was you couldn't integrate it with a main pack well. But now that you can with the Crossfire webbing, you guys have seen my videos the past year, I'm always wearing this stuff. So with that is the Crossfire webbing. Let's get into how I personally set up my webbing equipment and what recommendations I have for you guys. Maybe it's your first kit, maybe you don't know how to run it, maybe you're thinking, all right, Echo Mike, you've sold me on webbing, what next? So let's go over how to set up the webbing and how I set up mine. All right, so my head's gonna be cut out of this because that's not what's important, but this is the video you've all been waiting for. How does Echo Mike set up his webbing? You just got your webbing, what do you put inside it? Well, that's gonna depend on your philosophy of use. So let's go through it. First thing I like to do is, again, what's the philosophy? It's 24 hours of fighting and sustainment, or I'll say it's 24 hours of fighting with sustainment. So you want to utilize your magazine pouches, which are around the front. So in here, you can see the tuck tab design a little closer now. Again, real easy to access. I can just boom, close it up like that if need be. I've got magazines in here. So that side, this is my left side, so it's my reloading side. I keep magazines in there. And quite honestly, 6 mags, 1 in the gun, 7, that's going to be your GWAT plate carrier setup. And that is what people are used to having. But again, we're spoiled with this combat webbing, and that's why I think everyone needs it, because you can just carry so much. I like to run my radio through there, of course. Over in the front right side, I like to carry, got 2 in there, I think I put 1 in the gun, but it'll be 3 mags up here. Tuck that in. One nice little feature about Crossfire is being an Australian company, all of the webbing is actually the Oscam, which blends really well to multicam. And when you get it, you'll be like, oh, something's different about it, but it's a really nice Australian touch. And kind of, again, it blends with that multicam really nicely. Official multicam, of course, no knockoffs there. In this pouch, because I was doing an admin role, I've got more admin things. So I've got stuff like chem lights, multi-tools. I've got my radio, I've got extra batteries, chem lights, survival kit, and some medical in here. If I had to, what I would do is I would actually run perhaps where this knife is, or on the other side, or on the back. I'd put my radio right there. What's nice is even with this radio antenna on the side, my pack can actually still fit on over here so it doesn't interfere. Right here is an absolute must for everyone and often overlooked. You need a field knife or some sort of bayonet. Right now I've got the Glock field knife here. Sometimes I'll switch this out with the USMC Oki 3S bayonet or British bayonet. What I've done is I've actually run paracord and I've weaved it in between the molly there to get a really, and I've taped it up to get a really secure fit to this, so that guy can just flop there. And then I've used the bungees from both sides clipped into the knife to get it really, really secure. Again, utilizing that webbing to attach items. In here, I've got canteen with a canteen cup. In the bottom of here, what I'll often do is I'll waterproof a pair of socks and a blister kit in the bottom of there. Coming around to the main pouch, again, we talked about this is 24 hours of rations. For those of you who have watched my video, know that I am a fat ass, so I keep a lot of food. I've got my cooker in here. I've got a brew kit, so your tea, your coffee, dextrose tablets. I've got a hexamine burner, I've got electrolytes, and I've got 3 meals. Mess kits are an absolute must, and because you're carrying it in your webbing, you don't need to carry it in your pack. So a really big deal. In here I have so much food. So honestly, probably 2 days worth of food in here right now, but I can switch this out for maybe an extra survival kit, things of that nature. Water purification tabs I've got in there, and a ton of rations and bars, of course. So just, again, fighting and sustainment. Around the front, last feature, of course, I've got a carabiner to hang my gloves or anything I might need, and then ranger beads. Again, because it's a setup for a leadership role, that's what I carry. Other options, if I'm set up for an infantry role, what I would do is I would have 6 magazines up front here, which we have inside here. Again, that tuck tab, I really like this color. You've got the Cobra buckle, which is that really good quality plastic. A lot of people go metal on these. Guys, take it from me. The quality of plastic that Crossfire uses is absolutely phenomenal. It's not going to break on you. Trust it, it's going to work. In here, got mags. These are the new KCI translucent ones. Really great mags. Love using them for range training. So you've got 12 magazines in this loadout for an infantryman. And then on the back of here, I've got really nicely made kind of scrim net. This is great for like concealment, you know, just keeping sweat or wind off your neck, camouflage, whatever you might need. Really popular with British Airborne Forces. Again, you've got back here, got that crucial canteen, guys. In the back, more mess kits with, same as before, you've got your hexamine cookers. Yeah, hexamine, some Advil in there, fork, and rations, things of that nature. Again, what I like to do is I like to keep socks and a blister kit in here also. And then for this guy, I would keep something else, water, survival, smoke, medical kit, I would put in between these pouches or carry in one of these. Again, depending on what I'm doing. So there's 2 different ways that you can set up your combat webbing. The PLCE is the same as before. Some of the mods you can do to your PLCE is you can put bungee. This will help you with camouflage and to keep everything tight. And then you would put paracord around the bottom of the pouches here, and that's going to help cinch everything up. And that's because PLCE needed some improvements, but the Crossfire webbing does not. This stuff is honestly fantastic just the way that it is. You got a big hip pad right there that just does an absolutely phenomenal job of spreading that weight. So with that, let's talk about some little closing notes and this webbing. So you have it, guys. There is an introduction to this fantastic gear, PLCE webbing. It's a fantastic tool, and honestly, I think one of the first bits of kit, once you get training, once you start practicing these skills, you need, because it allows you to do a lot of dynamic things. Unlike chest rigs or backpacks, they don't look overtly tactical. You can run with them, you can hike with them. They're very, very comfortable. You can integrate them, you can build off of them. Because just like in our equipment video, we have equipment in stages, starting with our body, our fighting load, our sustainment, and then extra equipment. So the webbing is a fantastic way to start building off that. As I said, I was sent these by Crossfire, and I have been so impressed, and quite honestly, I was very skeptical getting them at first because I knew that traditional British PLCE did such a great job. But after using them for a while now, through all 4 seasons, I've been phenomenally impressed, and I will recommend nothing else to you guys. So let me know what you think of webbing. Let me know what webbing you're running. How do you set yours up? Let's have a discussion in the comments. It's 2025, so Happy New Year to you all. I want to thank you all for the support. The channel continues to grow. I'm so grateful for that. As you guys know, I've been incredibly busy, so I appreciate your patience. I'm going to aim for a video a week, but going into 2025, looking at what I have going on, looking at the quality of content I want to make, I may dial that down a little bit. So if you see or you expect a video, please understand that I've got a lot going on. As you know, I'm working on patches and merch and a website, things of that nature for you all to help support the channel, because we ask for nothing here. But what I will ask for, or from you guys today, is if you are looking for webbing, please go visit Crossfire, tell them that Echo Mike sent you, and you will not regret it. It's a great team of guys that you're supporting over at Crossfire. I've become very good friends with the guys over there. So, you know, I want to thank you all again for the understanding. 2025 is going to be a great year. There's tons planned. Going to be doing some more announcements and news for you guys, but stay tuned because I've got some awesome stuff that I've been working on for you all. As always, look after your mates, look after each other, and I'll see you guys on the next one.